like that, the push start. I wish my car had that. So we're riding with the top down. Not with this weather. So we're gonna put the top up real quick. This is a really cool process that I like it. It's a convertible hardtop car. All just a click of one button. Alright, so what's going on, guys? So this is a review I've been kind of wanting to do for a little bit. I'm really excited to do this car. This is a 2012 Lexus 250C. Now, Lexus is owned by Toyota, so Lexus is more or less the high-end brand of Toyota. If you were to kind of compare Honda and Acura, Acura would be Honda's high-end brand, and the same for Nissan with Infiniti. So Lexus has a lot of variants of the IS. I believe the IS kind of came out in 1998 when they started having different variants of these cars. So you have the SUV models, and you have the cars and the sports cars kind of. And Lexus overall is a very, very nice brand. So get into this review of the Lexus. Now, this is a Lexus 250C. I believe the C would more or less be for convertible. And this is a two-door convertible hardtop car. So you can ride around with all four windows down, actually. So in some convertibles, you can only have the driver and the passenger window down, and the rear windows only go down once the top is down. On this, it's different. You can control whether you have this driver's side back window down, or you can have the passenger only, or you can have both, or just all four windows. Now, coming into this car, I could see a lot of where people like or dislike this car. Being the front end of the car, Lexus kind of has this spindle front end, this more aggressive, edgy looking front end going from this model even to the 350 and more of their four-door cars as well. So Lexus kind of carries that over in their lineups, whether it's the SUV or just the car itself. And the thing that would definitely make or break this car for a customer or consumer buying this car would be the trunk space. Now, when the hardtop is up, you have trunk space. Coming from a Mustang, you don't have, especially my year, you don't have a lot of trunk space. So you have a little more trunk space. I would say more or less kind of the newer Coyote cars or the S550 Mustang. Probably right around that. But once you start getting into kind of when you have the hardtop down, you're limited to so much space. So I did a little test upon putting my backpack, just a regular, school backpack, and I carry my camera equipment in it, and I had a bit of a struggle to put it in there. I had a bit of a problem putting the backpack to be able to fit snug in the trunk, because there's just limited trunk space with the hardtop. So if you're kind of looking for a car that you want, to take family trips and you want a lot of trunk space, this car isn't for you. Now, if you're just kind of looking for a cruiser and something for yourself and friends to have fun in and something like that, then definitely this car, I would take consideration in this car. Now, to get into the powertrain options, this car is an automatic transmission, and they do have the sport mode where you can use the paddle shifters. It's a 6-speed automatic, and the gauges are laid out very nice, where it tells you on your display right here in the screen what gear you're in, and the automatic transmission, I believe, it will take over if you kind of mess up on the paddle shifting. Now, it may take some people some use to getting used to. Not for myself. It's very easy to pick up on, but I do like the features of the paddle shifters. So it kind of makes you feel like you have that sporty mode. Now, the steering wheel in this car is very nice laid out. You have your gauges, your volume, your phone, and your display where you can control the cluster gauge, or you can control your nav and everything over here on the radio. I do like how Lexus laid that out, and it's a bit dark for these anyways. It has this little feature where it tells you what road you're on, and if you're on the highway and you have a couple exits coming up, it will tell you how many minutes and how many miles that exit is you are far from. So I like that feature, and I like the different climate features, and overall the buttons are laid out in very nice order. They're not hard to reach, they're not hard to get to, you know where everything is. And to go into the interior trim of this car, of course it's a hard plastic. If you press down on it, you're not going to crack it or anything like some of the older cars and stuff like that. So it has a little give to it. And overall, it's very nice laid out. It has some wood grain right here. It's got seat coolers and warmers right here with just the touch of a turn of a knob, and you're good. My only complaint is the cup holders. You have your center console, you probably can't see, but in your center console right here, you have kind of more or less a cup holder, but you also have where you put stuff in there, so it doesn't make it practical. And that's one thing I've noticed with Lexus. They really don't give you the options for cup holders. You have one right here, but it's just one. But if you have passengers with you, it's kind of hard. But in the rear seat, you also have a cup holders for people that sit back there, which is also helpful. The seats in this car, I will give it, they are comfortable seats. The leather and everything, it's not cheap. You're not, paying for cheap product right here. It's definitely, it's very comfortable overall, but kind of in a sport car with the steering wheel. The steering wheel is very sporty, and it makes you feel like you're more or less in a sports car, but the seats do not go with it. You can slide around in them. You're not going to take sharp turns and everything with this car. That's a given, but I feel like I don't feel planted in the seat. I more or less like to feel comfortable in the seat and feel like I'm not going anywhere. But that just might be myself talking from coming from a Mustang. Even my seats aren't that great after 15 years. They definitely aren't that great, but you definitely, when you get into a newer car, you want to feel, a sporty car, you want to feel like you're in control and not slide around and stuff like that. But overall, the seats aren't bad. You have your different controls right here on the door panels, whether you're the driver or the passenger, to feel comfortable with the lumbar and stuff, the way it can go and all that. So they did a good job with that. Now this car is a dual overhead cam V6, so it makes 204 horsepower and 185 foot-pounds of torque. Now this car is not fast by any means. It has power to to get up and go, but it's no by means any fast at all. So if you're looking for this car to speed and all that, it's definitely not worth it. You're not gonna get this out of that car. Now the F Sport and the very different variations of this car, they have the F Sport and then they have the 350. Now the 350 produces over 300 horsepower and over 270 foot-pounds of torque. And the F Sport, I think, is just a better interior trim, entry level, the 250. So you kind of have a V6 with the 350 as well, but it's just, the power's bumped up in it and stuff like that. So you're kind of just paying for the power behind that when you buy the 350 versus the 250. Now overall, besides the power and everything, I love how this car drives, I love how it feels, and I honestly love the way it looks. If I were to give it, I would give it an 8 out of 10, the way it looks with how Lexus did this. I think they did a really good job putting this car to the entry market level. So it's one thing I did notice about reading reviews on this car. People that haven't ridden in the car, people just the first glance of how they see the car, it's definitely not a model that they would buy right away. And I could see how I would, persona that as well, first glance, look at the car pictures and stuff like that. But once you ride in the car and once you drive it, you definitely have a change of an opinion, because the car is very, very, comfortable. It's very nice driving. Like I said, speed-wise, taking turns like that, the car's not that best, but the car has a great braking system. For being in 2012, this car is definitely there, and it's a very nice car overall. So, guys, if you're looking for kind of like a comfortable cruiser car and you're not worried about space and you want that hard top convertible, but you don't want to worry about the drop top rag always messing up and getting holes in it and having to replace it every 5 years or so, this is definitely a car to consider. When I watched how the top went into the trunk and stuff, Lexus did a great job. I mean, the only thing that you could possibly worry about is maybe paint chipping, if that, or if you have something in the trunk and that were to chip the paint of the roof and all that, or you know, maybe a part breaking and you would have to take it to the dealership or wherever, a shop, to get it repaired. That's the only thing that you would really have to worry about, because being this and a drop top, you can always just buy a drop top, you know, aftermarket. For example, the Mustangs, of course, plenty of people rebuy them, and shop charges you a lot of money to put them in. But if you know what you're doing and take your time, you can always fix it yourself. So this is a little more complicated, since everything's computered, and you know, it's just more moving parts and all that. So, but if you're not worried about that, guys, it's definitely a great car to hit up. So, I mean, Lexus or Toyota, whichever company you want to say, did a really good job with the entry level of this car, and I really enjoy driving it. Even getting on it right now. I mean, you can tell the power's there, but it's not going to put you back in your seat. And the other thing that I like in this sport mode is definitely the paddle shifters. So when you go, I'm slowing down, so I can be in first gear, and then if I were to get on it, and the cool little feature right here on the cluster gauge is that it will blink red once you hit your power band, more or less to say, and it wants you to shift. Now, if you don't, testing it out, when I tested it out, the automatic transmission kicks over, kind of takes control and shifts the car for you, just in case you were to accidentally mess up. But the paddle shifter features are really, I find them very intriguing in this car. I mean, I myself, I drive a manual. I always prefer a manual. I always prefer to have more control of the car, and it's more fun to drive, in my opinion. But the paddle shifters kind of give that sport feel, and if you want an automatic, and a lot of people nowadays, and especially the way with car companies are going to have the automatic, but they're going to give you the manual feature, feeling that way you feel like you're, you know, kind of in control of the car. And I do like that with this car, so I'm glad Lexus did put that in this car, and I would imagine all the other Lexus cars will like that. I haven't really been in that many Lexus, but like I said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. I know I did. I was really excited to do this car because it's a higher end brand car, and I've always was just curious kind of what Lexus did with their cars, how it felt to be in one, and definitely how it felt to drive one. I know I like it. I would always want to do another review of a different Lexus, and I would do another review of a Lexus, and I definitely would probably own one if I had the money and didn't have the Mustang. And if I was going a different route, kind of a higher end brand car such as BMW or Mercedes or Lexus or even Acura, I would definitely look at some of the Lexus, and I may even buy one. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I will see you next time, and have a good one.